Laudetur Jesus Christus. Vatican and World News.
In the headlines of Saturday, December 12th, the Holy Father celebrates Holy Mass in St. Peter's Basilica for the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, patroness of the Americas. And world leaders are meeting for a summit on the 5th year anniversary of the Paris Climate Agreement. In the Vatican, I'm Francesca Merlo.
And I'm Christopher Wells.
Pope Francis celebrated Holy Mass for the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe at the altar of the chair in St. Peter's Basilica on Saturday morning. Under the title of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Blessed Virgin Mary is honored as the Empress, Patroness and Mother of the Americas, and especially of Latin America. Seminarians from Latin American countries, as well as official ambassadorial delegations, were in attendance at Saturday's Mass, although the number of participants was limited due to the coronavirus precautions. In his homily, Pope Francis reflected on the ideas of abundance, blessing and gift.
Madre de los pobres, de los peregrinos,
God always offers himself in abundance, Pope Francis said in his homily on Saturday morning.
La abundancia, porque Dios siempre se ofrece en abundancia.
God does not give himself in doses, although he is patient with our limitations and our need for comfortable quotas. But God nonetheless gives himself completely, because the Pope said it is impossible for him to do otherwise. The second idea that the Pope spoke about in his homily is the idea of blessing, saying what is good. This idea is found on the very first page of Scripture in the story of creation from the book of Genesis. God, seeing his creation, declares that it is good and very good. God's style is always to say what is good, said Pope Francis.
El estilo de Dios es siempre decir bien.
And conversely, to curse or to speak evil is the style of the devil, of the enemy. God always says what is good, the Pope repeated. He says it with pleasure. He says it by giving himself, and by giving himself in abundance. These two realities, abundance and blessing, are a gift, a present to us that contains all grace, all that he is, all of his divinity, which comes to us in the Blessed One, Jesus, God's only begotten Son, the Son of Mary. Jesus, who is blessed in himself by nature, is God's gift to us. He is given to us through Mary, who, by God's grace, is blessed among women. This, said Pope Francis, is the gift that God presents to us, and which he has continually desired to emphasize, to reawaken through revelation. Blessed are you among women, because you have brought us the Blessed One.
Que contemplando la imagen de nuestra Madre hoy,
as we contemplate the image of our Mother today, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe,
le robemos a Dios un poco de este estilo que tiene.
Let us steal from God a little bit of his style, Pope Francis said, the style of generosity, abundance, blessing, never cursing, transforming our life into a gift for all. Let it be so. At the conclusion of the liturgy, Pope Francis prayed before the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, a replica of the famous tilma preserved in Mexico City, which was displayed near the altar. I'm Christopher Wells.
The Virgin of Guadalupe, like the Shroud of Turin, appears on a piece of fabric. Both are sacred objects hundreds of years old, and both depict an image said to be miraculous. The Virgin of Guadalupe was declared Queen of Mexico and is patron of the Americas. Our Lady of Guadalupe first introduced herself as the Mother of God and the Mother of all humanity when she appeared on a hill of Tepeyac in Mexico in 1531. An indigenous peasant, Juan Diego, saw a glowing figure on the hill. After she had identified herself to him, Our Lady asked that Juan build her a shrine in that same spot, in order for her to show and share her love and compassion with all those who believe. Afterwards, Juan Diego visited Juan de Zumárraga, who was Archbishop of what is now Mexico City. Zumárraga dismissed him in disbelief and asked that the future saint provide proof of his story and proof of the lady's identity. Juan Diego returned to the hill and encountered Our Lady again. The Virgin told him to climb to the top of the hill and pick some flowers to present to the Archbishop. Although it was winter and nothing should have been in bloom, Juan Diego found an abundance of flowers of a type he had never seen before. The Virgin bundled the flowers into Juan Diego's cloak, known as a tilma, and when Juan Diego presented the tilma of exotic flowers to Zumárraga, the flowers fell out and he recognized them to be Castilian roses, which are not found in Mexico. What was even more significant, however, was that the tilma had been miraculously imprinted with a colorful image of the Virgin herself. This actual tilma, preserved since that date and showing the familiar image of the Virgin Mary with her head bowed and hands together in prayer, represents the Virgin of Guadalupe. It remains perhaps the most sacred object in all of Mexico. Over 20 million people visit the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe each year, now situated on the very same hill on which she appeared. In 1990, Pope St. John Paul II visited Mexico and beatified Juan Diego. 10 years later, in the year 2000, he was declared a saint.
On Saturday morning, Pope Francis met with artists taking part in this year's Vatican Christmas concert. The beauty of art, he told them, can inspire hope, harmony, and peace. In this critical historical moment in which humanity is rediscovering our dependence on one another due to the pandemic, art has a crucial role to play, Pope Francis said. Artistic creation, the perception and contemplation of beauty, can be understood in terms of three movements. The Pope said the wonder and amazement produced in the senses, the deeper appreciation that touches the depths of our soul and heart, awakening memories, images, and emotions, and the sense of hope that can light up our world, which is generated by art. At the close of his address, the Holy Father appealed to artists as guardians of beauty in our world, whose lofty and demanding calling is to transmit truth and beauty with pure and dispassionate hands.
On Saturday, precisely 5 years after the Paris Climate Agreement was struck, world leaders will gather virtually to assess progress and challenges ahead. But as Stefan Boss reports, the United States will not be present at the gathering.
The summit, hosted by France, Britain and the United Nations, is to press leaders to keep their promises to halt what they view as dangerous global warming. They say that 5 years after the Paris Climate Agreement, the world still faces significant perceived climate change impacts, such as existential threats from rising seas. More than 100 countries and even more companies, states and cities have pledged to achieve net zero carbon emissions by the middle of the century. Experts cited by the summit link carbon emissions to global warming. They say they want to hold the global average temperature increase to well below 2 Celsius, or 35.6 Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial levels. The agreement pursues efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 Celsius, or 35.7 Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial levels. Most of the carbon emission promises aren't yet official targets of the Paris Pact, geared towards goals by 2030. As a group, the world's third largest emitter, the European Union, beefed up the continent's 2030 carbon reduction targets on Friday, from 40% to 55% of 1990 emission levels. The European Commission, the EU's executive, considers reducing greenhouse gas emissions crucial to halt climate change, suggests Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
All EU countries should benefit from the transition with economic growth, a cleaner environment and healthier citizens. The European Green Deal will be our growth strategy.
But Swedish teen environmentalist Greta Thunberg has blasted world leaders for setting what she calls distant, hypothetical targets while speeding in the wrong direction.
The 5 years following the Paris Agreement have been the 5 hottest years ever recorded. And during that time, the world has also emitted more than 200 gigatons of CO2. Commitments are being made, distant hypothetical targets are being set, and big speeches are being given. Yet, when it comes to the immediate action we need, we are still in a state of complete denial, as we waste our time creating new loopholes with empty words and creative accounting.
Yet some people will be missing Saturday's online summit meeting. The United States government, which under President Barack Obama was instrumental in forging the Paris Accord, won't be present Saturday. The administration of US President Donald Trump pulled out of the Paris Agreement, which he claims is based on disputable science and will cause millions of job losses. However, declared President-elect Joe Biden has pledged to rejoin the accord. He wants to put the US on a track to stop adding more carbon to the atmosphere than can be removed by 2050. For Vatican News, I am Stefan Bos, reporting.
Pope Francis has sent a video message to participants in the UN's climate summit. In his message, the Pope highlights the Holy See's efforts to promote a culture of care in order to combat climate change. Devin Watkins reports.
La actual pandemia y el cambio climático, que tienen una relevancia no solo ambiental.
The effects of the ongoing pandemic and climate change, which are relevant not only for the environment but also for the spheres of ethics, society, economics, and politics, weigh most heavily upon the lives of the poor and vulnerable. Pope Francis offered that motivation for the Holy See's commitment to combating climate change in a video message sent on Saturday. His remarks were directed to participants in the UN's high-level virtual Climate Ambition Summit, which was held on the 5th anniversary of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. The event sought to urge national governments to honor their commitments to reduce CO2 emissions and limit global warming. In his video message, Pope Francis expressed his support for efforts to work toward net zero emissions and described the Holy See's actions in this regard, which take place on two different levels. Vatican City State said the Pope is dedicated to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. The Vatican is also seeking to care for the environment by reducing its water and electricity usage and by employing tactics to encourage energy efficiency, sustainable transportation, reforestation, and waste recycling. Pope Francis said the Holy See is also seeking to educate people in integral ecology.
Las medidas políticas y técnicas deben unirse con un proceso educativo.
Politics and technology, he said, must unite behind an educational process which favors a cultural model of development and sustainability focused on fraternity and an alliance between human beings and the environment. With this goal in mind, the Pope said he had set up the Global Compact on Education to help Catholic schools and universities promote a holistic form of education. Over 70 million students attend Catholic schools and universities, he noted. Another initiative promoted by Pope Francis was the Economy of Francesco, which saw young economists, entrepreneurs, and changemakers come together to help build a better future. He said they are promoting new paths which put care for shared goods at the center of national and international politics, and which promotes sustainable production methods even in low-income countries by sharing relevant advanced technologies. Pope Francis concluded his video message to world leaders engaged in fighting the climate crisis with an encouragement to seize the moment.
Ha llegado el momento de un cambio de rumbo. No robemos a las nuevas generaciones la esperanza en un futuro mejor.
The time has come to change direction, he said. Let us not rob younger generations of their hope in a better future. I'm Devin Watkins.
Finally, the traditional ceremony for the Christmas tree and nativity scene in St. Peter's Square took place on Friday evening under the gaze of several official delegates. St. Peter's Square was aglow on Friday evening as a host of onlookers beheld the lighting of this year's creche and Christmas tree. As Pope Francis told the Slovenian and Italian delegates earlier that same morning, these icons of Christmas are now more than ever a sign of hope for the people of Rome and for those pilgrims who will have the opportunity to come and admire them.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Vatican and World News. For more on these and other stories and to hear this broadcast as a podcast, please be sure to visit our web portal at www.vaticannews.va.
Many thanks this afternoon go to our producers and sound engineers in studio. I'm Christopher Wells.
And I'm Francesca Merlo.